The idea that viruses are invading agents that cause disease was created by Louis Pasteur in the 1800s. His theory, known as the germ theory of disease, is the catalyst for all theories existing in the medical profession. Germ theory is responsible for the use of pasteurization, vaccines, and medical treatments. At the same time that Louis Pasteur was developing his germ theory, there was another French scientist by the name of Antoine Béchamp. Béchamp came up with his own theory of disease and documented and proved it in his book, The Third Element of Blood. His theory was radically different. It was called the terrain theory. The terrain theory proposes that all living microorganisms and viruses originate within the body, not from without. He discovered the processes of fermentation, and he observed that bacteria and viruses are pleomorphic, mutating based upon the terrain which they reside. This is the exact opposite of what Louis Pasteur proposed, which states that viruses occur in nature by themselves and create disease. This, as I will explain, is impossible. Viruses originate only in the presence of a living cell. However, science also says that viruses can occur in nature. So which is it? Viruses must have a cell in order to replicate. Science has admitted this. However, they are manipulating the people into believing only partial truths. The truth is that viruses are created in their whole form within the cell. They do not come from outside the body. They come from within the body. Viruses occur in the body as a result of systemic toxicity, not because the body has been invaded by an external threat. This is the big lie that the medical profession relies upon to justify the use of vaccines and dangerous medications. Without the false germ theory to rely upon and the contagious myth that is so brainwashed into people, the medical profession would have nothing to stand on and would topple like a house of cards. So what are viruses and what are their main purpose in the human body and in the bodies of animals? Viruses dissolve toxic matter when tissue is too toxic for living microbes to feed upon without being poisoned to death. Without viruses, the human body would not be able to sustain itself in the face of systemic toxicity. Since viruses are not alive, they do not know how to infect a cell on their own. They do not have a nucleus. They do not have respiration or a digestive tract. They are not alive. Therefore, viruses must have an assisting and guiding agent to accommodate their behavior. These are called antibodies. Importantly, it must be understood that viruses do not infect cells to invade the cell and replicate. Science would have you believe that viruses replicated in nature by themselves. But we know that viruses cannot replicate unless in the presence of a living cell. Therefore, how could a virus replicate itself when a virus is not alive and does not procreate? Science has claimed that a virus has indiscriminatory actions. This means the virus is supposed to be invading all cells in the body equally. But this is not the behavior that we observe. The reality is, viruses are very specific and they specifically dissolve specific tissues in the body. They do this with the assistance and guidance of antibodies. The virus contains the RNA and DNA necessary to dissolve specific tissues, and it acquires this from the energies of the cell. The cell has DNA. DNA is an energy form. Our bodies are not computers. We do not code. That is another mischaracterization of the human body. Energy exists in all cells and agents in the body. Cells will create the virus, therefore the cell will impart its own energy into the virus, which allows the virus, with the help of antibodies, to specifically dissolve tissue, waste, and debris. Viruses float in free suspension after they have left the cell. This is the nature of zeta potential. This is a law of the universe that keeps objects in free suspension, repelling or attracting themselves away from each other. This is an electrical energy charge known as static electricity. If viruses were not discriminatory and specific agents created by cells, we would observe everyone who gets infected with viruses all have the same level of sickness. But this is not what happens. This is a direct contradiction of virology itself, because if viruses are contagious agents that come from outside the body, the virus would not care what level of health of the immune system or of the body that person had. Now, science would have you believe that viruses contain all the necessary tools to infect each region, tissue, and organ in the body. In the human body, we have many viruses. If I drink alcohol to excess for long periods of time, I may develop hepatitis. According to science, I would have had to have caught hepatitis if we are to go by the logic of virology. Why would the body create hepatitis virus in the liver? Because the cells in the liver are attempting to cleanse the liver and themselves of toxicity to restore and reverse a toxic liver condition. Now, it has been shown that there are over 320,000 virus variants inherent to Earth and nature. Thousands of those exist within the human body, and they exist in the form of a blueprint. The blueprint exists in the genome. Now, the genome will direct the cells of the body what type of protein to manufacture. For example, if you have a damaged liver, it's going to call upon the hepatitis blueprint, and there are 3 types of hepatitis virus. The cells in the liver will therefore manufacture what they deem necessary. Depending upon the liver toxicity, you may need hepatitis A. You may need hepatitis B or C. It depends on the level of toxicity. Each virus is more or less the same in this regard. They all cleanse the liver and dissolve degenerated tissue. The level of symptoms that you will experience depends on the level of toxicity. When you have a high amount of toxicity, it will require you to have more viral activity. Thus, the breakdown of viruses means that you are going to experience a higher level of symptoms. You're going to feel more sick. Now, the reason that people experience symptoms with viruses and bacteria is because when these break down the degenerated tissue and waste, the body must eliminate what they break down. So how does the body do that? The body will eliminate 90% of toxins through the skin, and the rest through the bowels, the mouth, and the mucous membranes. This means coughing, sneezing. The skin, we have all manner of skin rashes and eruptions. White blood cells assist this behavior. Let's look at acne for an example. You have a pimple. It is white or black depending upon the toxin involved. If it is white, it uses white blood cells. If it is black, it is using red blood cells, which usually is an indication of too much iron. And it is a specific type of iron, the type from supplements which the body cannot utilize. White blood cells assist the action of expelling toxins, which are crystalline in nature, like a shard of glass that ruptures out through the skin. Now the white blood cell helps neutralize this behavior. It tries to help push it out of the body. This is the behavior of all infection. It is always the body trying to expel toxins or foreign debris from inside the body. Viral infection is necessary in order so that the body may reverse its toxic condition. But in people that have a suppressed immune system, their body cannot deal rationally with large amounts of virus breaking down toxic waste products, and therefore they may become sick and die. But this is rare. More likely, 99% of the people who have viral activity will overcome it. That is the function of the body. The body knows very well what to do. It is smart and has innate abilities. We should nurture and learn to love the body. When someone dies due to viral or bacterial infection, it is almost always because of medical treatment. The medical industry seeks an enemy so that it can justify the use of dangerous medical procedures and treatments. Erecting a wall between you and your body will result in the fear of your body and those around you. That is the primary purpose of the contagious myth. Brainwashing people into believing that they may catch a disease from someone around them allows the medical profession to keep people in fear. When people are in fear, they are easily controlled and manipulated. The people ask for a solution, and they provide it to them, not knowing that they have now enslaved themselves to their very own mind and body. When the mind becomes internally focused on its own problems, the focus is no longer on the surroundings of that person, but is focused internally on his own problems. When the body is unhealthy, this focus will magnify greatly. When a population is too concerned with their own ailments, they will have no concern for the exterior problems. Those in power take the opportunity to exploit this nature of man, slowly taking the rights away from the individual. They know how the human mind works, and they exploit it to their favor.